Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGenEd. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts, like the chart behind me, which is of the S&P 500, ticker symbol SPX. And so I will be going over not only the S&P 500, but also the NASDAQ and different ways to short them, because I do think it is pretty clear that the top is in for the market, and it has gone down a bit, but I do think it could go down a bit more. So I just wanted to go over some levels, some targets, and I will probably do a follow-up on this video because I do think these targets will be hit and we could be going lower. But yeah, I did just want to dive into these charts. And so here, looking at the SPX, it did close on Friday, April 19th, at a price just below $5,000, being down almost 1% on the day, closing at a price of $4,967.23. And it is at a pretty key level that I can see right around here, this Fibonacci level that I will go over in just a second. I did just want to point out a couple levels on the bigger time scale here, looking on the daily chart. And so one is the previous all-time high that was hit at the beginning of 2022, marked by this dashed line here. That is right around a price of $4,800, and that does also correspond with a Fibonacci level. So I do find that to be pretty interesting. And then also I do have this more recent peak that was hit over the summer of 2023, and that is right around a price of $4,600 per share. So I do think both of those levels price will be getting down there, but it might take some time, as it has taken some time for the market to top and clearly turn around. But also I did want to point out, with this level at 4,600, it does seem to correspond with these previous peaks over here. So I do feel like if price does get to that level, or if it does get to 4,800, because there were previous peaks there, there will be some support. But if there is any consolidation at these levels, it could just be a bear flag before continuation to the downside. But I just wanted to zoom in here now that I've gone over those bigger time scale levels, to go over some of the more recent price action. And so what I have done a Fibonacci retracement going from the low here, hit at the end of October 2023, and then going up to the recent high. And one level that does stand out to me, price is currently below this level, the 236, at a price of $4,990.84, right around $5,000 a share. And so yeah, price has broken below that. And also you might notice there is this blue line here, and that corresponds with a gap up that we experienced following NVIDIA earnings. There was a gap up not only with NVIDIA, but also with the S&P 500. And so we have returned to that level. So that does mean that we might be finding some support right around the current price. But I do think if we do consolidate at all, that will be bearish consolidation, forming a bear flag before continuing to the next level down. And so the next level that I do have marked here is the 382 at a price of $4,821.32, or right around 4,800, also corresponding with the previous all-time high. I do think a lot of support will be found there if price does go down to that level, but again, it could just be forming a bear flag before continuing lower, like to 4,600, that more recent high that we saw in the market, going back to over here, hit, let's see, on July 27th of 2023. So, price could be finding support there if we do go down that low. But I do think that there are these gaps to the downside marked in blue, getting down to 4,400 or even, 4,250. Price could be going that low. But, I did not want to break down all of the levels getting down there. Really, I just wanted to go over these two. One that we are trading below, and I do think that 5,000 just being a psychological level will be a key one to reclaim, but it again may just be bearish consolidation before continuing lower. And I did also want to point out that I have gone over in many videos these uptrending levels that it does look like we have broken below. There was this rising wedge that price has confirmed below, and we have seen this massive rollover. And so I did just want to point out a couple candles that stood out to me, that do stand out to me, looking at the chart as being indicators for this breakdown. And so one was these two candles going between March 14th and 15th. We did get a red candle closing below this yellow uptrend, which I viewed as the bottom of that wedge. It did get a confirmation candle, a close below that previous day's low, but then price did continue higher, got a bullish engulfing candle here on March 19th, continued higher to new highs, but then we did start to break below that yellow uptrend and then got a bearish engulfing candle on March 26th, testing this orange uptrend really as kind of a secondary level, a bottom level of that rising wedge. But with that bearish engulfing candle, did test getting to new all-time highs hit on March 28th. But then following that, we gapped lower, got this massive bearish engulfing candle on April 4th, engulfing the two previous trading days. And then, we just could not reclaim or hold the previous all-time high or the previous opens closes. Price started to fade, and then we've gotten this massive sell-off. So going from the all-time high coming down to Friday's close, that represents a drop of about 5.6% to the downside. And, I do think that price will actually be going lower, like to 4,800, and that is a drop from the all-time highs of around 8.5%. So I definitely could be seeing that in the future. And so I wanted to go over the SPX before getting into the short tickers. And so the first one that I will be going over is the non-leveraged short ProShares ETF, ticker symbol SH. And so here that did close on Friday, April 19th at a price of $12.59, being up about 1% on the day. And it has returned to the 236, as you can see here in the chart. And I do think that there are a lot of parallels between the SH and the SPX. As you notice, the 382 with the SPX corresponded with the previous all-time high. Looking at the SH, the 382 actually corresponds with the more recent low that we saw hit at the end of July of 2023. So I do find that interesting. There's actually a little bit of a mismatch because the previous low for the SH, corresponding with the all-time high of the S&P 500, hit at the beginning of 2022. That is actually lower than this more recent low, and current price is right around that level. So I do have that line marked at a price of $12.62, just being a few pennies above the closing price from Friday. So I do find that pretty interesting. But anyways, just zooming into the chart to look at this Fibonacci retracement, we can see that the 382 is at a price of $12.93, being just 1 penny above this low that was hit, at the end of July, that being at a price of $12.92. So I could definitely see price getting to right around $13 a share, but I did also add this yellow line at $12.78. Since that did act as support here, there was some consolidation there. I could see $12.78 acting as resistance, maybe getting a pullback to around $12.50, which is the 236, or maybe the dashed line here, the previous low from the beginning of 2022, that being at a price of $12.62, right around current price. So I could see price going up to right around $13 and then potentially pulling back. And so I do think that is something to be paying attention to. I also do have a few more levels marked on this chart, one being the 50% retracement at a price of $13.28. I decided to include this one in the chart here because there is this nice consolidation here, a lot of bottoms around that level. So I do think, as that was previous support, I do think that will be resistance moving forward, and price could definitely be getting that back to that level. And then I also have the 618 and the 65% retracement levels here, those marking the golden pocket, and that actually corresponding with a gap in the chart. So I'm very curious to see if that will be getting filled. And so this range, the 618 to the 65% level, those are prices ranging from around $13.60 to around $13.70. but there are also these gaps to the upside. Price could be going even higher, but I do think it will be bumping into some resistance around these levels with the low here and a price around $12.92. Also the lows here corresponding with that 50% retracement, really ranging from like 13.20 to 13.28. And then this golden pocket here also corresponding with the lows here, right around a price of 13.77. So there are some levels where we might be bumping into some resistance, but plenty of upside from current price. And if I do take a measurement from the bottom here and then taking up to current price, it looks like the SH is up about 6.7%, but then getting to these higher levels could be about 8.25%, 9.4%, or getting to 12.5%, or getting to this golden pocket. That would be an increase from the lows of about 15.5%, or even getting back to this previous high. That would be a swing of about 25%. So pretty interesting there. But if you're looking for big gains by shorting the S&P 500, the SH is not leveraged, and so we can look over at the SPXU. This is 3x leverage short the S&P 500, and so looking at the chart here, do have the same Fibonacci drawn from the high hit at the end of October, going to the low here hit on March 21st. And so from that Fibonacci retracement, we can see that the current price closing on Friday, April 19th at a price of $38.33, being up about 2.68% on the day, currently being below the 236 at a price of $39.96, or right around $40 a share. So I do think that price could definitely be going up to around $40 a share, perhaps bumping into some resistance around $41.70, where we see the double bottom here. This consolidation could be a lot of resistance there. But then the 382 does mark the high here, hit at the beginning of January. And so as that was resistance in the past, could be resistance in the future. And just above that was this previous low hit at the end of July of 2023, that being at a price of $45.68. Here, the 382 at a price of $44.89. I do think that could be a nice target for the SPXU. And then interestingly, the 50% retracement at a price of $48.87 is above this consolidation. So if price can get to that level, I do think that would actually be acting as support rather than resistance. And I do think that we might be bumping into some resistance below that consolidation. And so that would be right around a price of $47 a share, something around there. And so, I do think that is a level to be keeping in mind. And then the golden pocket here actually does not correspond with the gap that was formed actually just below it. But, getting to the 618 at a price of $52.85 would be filling that big gap. So I could definitely see price getting to there. And so if I do take a measurement from the bottom going up to current price, the SPXU is up just over 20%, but getting to some of these levels could represent about 20% more, or getting to 40%, 41% here, and then up to here over 50%. To that 50% retracement, and then getting to the 618 to fill that gap that I have marked over here. That would be a 65% swing from the bottom, so looking pretty good there. But then getting back to those previous highs, that would be an over 100% swing, so pretty nice. But if I were to take these measurements from the current price, we're looking at a swing of about 16% to this level, then the next one being about 27%, and then to the 618 is 37% upside, getting back to the highs of $65.74. That represents an upside move of almost 71%, so looking pretty good there. But now that I've covered the short positions for the S&P 500, I did want to go over the NASDAQ as well as the different ways to short the NASDAQ, or really the one way that I will be going over. And so here, looking at ticker symbol QQQ, which is the NASDAQ, we can see that it closed on Friday, April 19th at a price of $414.65, being down just about 2% on the day. And so the previous all-time high was hit at the end of 2021, I believe in November. And so that is at a price of right around $400, so that being at $401.89. So still being some downside to go to test that level as support. And considering that there was kind of a double top around there, that support might range down to around $398. So, right around $400 plus or minus $2. I could see that acting as support, but potentially resulting in the formation of a bear flag before continuing lower. And then the more recent high that was hit at the end of July 2023, that is at a price of $385.93. So could definitely see price going down there over the course of the year, but it would probably take some time to get there. And so now just zooming in on the chart to look at this Fibonacci retracement here, going from the lows hit at the end of October up to the recent highs, we can see some levels that do stand out, one being the 236 at a price of $423.78, currently trading below that, so probably not going to be acting as support. Maybe it will be acting as resistance if we do see a bounce. And a level we might be seeing a bounce from would be the 382 at a price of $407.97, or right around $408. We do also have these peaks here right around, the highest one being around $412, just below current price. So maybe we do start to see some consolidation over the course of the next week, maybe a bounce to retest the 236, but potentially as resistance, because we are approaching it from the downside now. Then we do see the dashed line here right around $402, corresponding with that previous all-time high. But I don't see that that really corresponds with too much in the chart. We did get a couple bounces from that level over here, so maybe it would be acting as support again. But a more convincing bounce is this one that we saw here at the beginning of January, that corresponding with the 50% retracement at a price of $395.19. So if that was support here, it might be acting as support again. And just below it, we do see these wicks to the upside right around $390. And so as that was resistance in the past, might be support in the future. But then also looking at the golden pocket here, the 618 to the 65% level, that is getting down to a price of around $380 per share. Again, filling a gap over here, but with still some gaps to the downside. So it might be getting down to around 380. But I do suspect it will take some time with some sideways consolidation, bear flags formed on the way down there. But anyways, talking about this going down, let's look over at the 3x leveraged short NASDAQ, which is ticker symbol SQQQ. And so here I do have that same kind of Fibonacci retracement here, looking at the price that closed on Friday, April 19th, at a price of $12.84, being up about 6.38% on the day, kind of reflecting that 3x leverage, get much bigger returns here with this. And so, looking at this Fibonacci retracement, we can see some levels that do stand out, one being the 236, that is at a price of $12.99, which interestingly was the high on Friday, so did get rejected from that level, but with the candles looking pretty green, I do think that any rejection from that level could be short-lived. But we do have, that corresponding with this bounce over here, having acted as support then, could be resistance moving forward. So maybe we do get some consolidation here below that level before we are able to break above it to test the next line, which is the 382 at a price of $14.81. Also corresponding with some bottoms over here and the top right here. So as that was previous support, was also previous resistance, may be resistance again. So that could be a pretty key level to be getting to. But if we can break above that, break above $15 a share, the next level is going to be the 50% retracement at a price of $16.29. Also corresponding with a gap fill over here and prior resistance. So it may very well be acting as resistance again. And with, the confluence of these three levels, kind of in this range from around 1480 to 1630, there might again be some consolidation there, just like we saw here, this looking like it was a bear flag to the downside. We might be seeing some consolidation in that range, but a bull flag to the upside, potentially getting back to, this golden pocket here at prices ranging from 1776 to 1816. So I could definitely see price getting up there. But, we do have these bottoms here right around, this one here that was hit at the beginning of September, corresponding with the 50% retracement, and then this bottom here corresponding with the 618. I do think these bottoms will correspond to resistance moving forward as prior support becomes resistance moving forward. And, I do think that this does have some more gaps to the upside, just like all of them. And so the 786 is at a price of $19.85. Price could definitely be going there, if not getting back to these highs at $22.52. So I just want to take a quick measurement from the bottom here, $10.05, going up to that high. That represents a swing of, let's see, 123, almost 24%. And if I am to adjust this to current price, that represents a 75% swing to the upside if we are to revisit these highs. But if not, if we're only to make it to some of these levels, getting to the 786 would be a 54% swing. Getting to the golden pocket would be about a 40% swing, and the 50% level would be about 26%, and then just getting back to the 382, that right there represents a 15 to 16% move to the upside, so lots of potential there. And so, I do think that there is a lot of great potential still in shorting the market, but I do think that we will be consolidating on our way down. Or, looking at the chart here on our way up. So I do think it is a good idea to be looking for levels that we might be consolidating at. And I do think that the SQQQ might be consolidating at or just below $13 a share before we can break higher, because it has been this notable support in the past. And so I do think it will be some resistance right now, and I do think it will take a push to break above it. And so we might be consolidating over the next few days. But I do think that there is a lot of upside, whether it's with the SQQQ, the SPXU, or the SH. I think there's a lot of money to be made with the market going to the downside, but also to be adding, on bounces, trimming, and getting into resistance. And so that is what I plan to do. But, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thanks a lot for watching.